Hey, welcome back to the Ball and Breakfast podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Wade and Pua. You can always catch us on our media outlets. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify now with video. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. If you go to Instagram, you can find our link in our bio that sends you to all of our different outlets. But also, if you're on Insta, you can check out all of our, different posts, as well as our podcast. So we've published quite a bit of personal content on there. For example, this weekend on Saturday, we, posted up our top 3 favorite video games. It kind of, took both of us back in time a little bit. I mean, anywhere from youth to teen years to high school and beyond. It was just kind of a way to share with our followers and friends, the games that we loved growing up. And I guess to kick it off, Wayne, when you're putting together your list, I know we both did 3, but you want to just run through, some of the games you put on there and, why you picked them?
Yeah, my 3 were Fight Night, 2004, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and ESPN's or the NFL 2K5 with Terrell Owens on the front cover there. Those are my favorite. Fight Night, I think that was just like the best, in my opinion, was like the best like controls to what was happening on the screen game, sports game, like of all time, in my opinion. Like the whole analogs, being able to utilize those to like, all right, you can move the torso, move the upper body, and it's just the upper body. You don't have to worry about the legs or anything like that. Like that whole experience was beautiful. And I think like a lot of the other sports franchises kind of copied off that. So I think that's the best. Had a great soundtrack. Some of the it made me like I really wasn't into boxing then, and all of a sudden like I played it and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And like I started watching YouTube videos because of that. Of like Arturo Gatti and like Manny Pacquiao. Like I had no idea who Manny Pacquiao was actually before until I played that game. It's like, oh, he's part of like the Filipino community. He's like a really big deal. So definitely got me more interested in that, more so. And so I would say that's probably my favorite in terms of sentiment and then overall play. My favorite boxing game out there. And then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Oh man, so many good memories of like the soundtrack, and then just just a lot of good vibes, man. A lot of good vibes from that game. Like I think I played until like 3 or 4, and I was like, okay, maybe that would have been enough. But just kind of like with the whole boxing thing, it was like, oh, I know who Bob Burnquist is. All of a sudden, like saw him real life watching on ESPN, and Shaun White too, before he was like this what he is now. So he really got me into all those things more so. Yeah, the gameplay was just fun. It's like, okay, I can land a 900 anytime, any day now. So, and then with regards to NFL 2K, it's like the gameplay is beats Madden like so much. I felt like anything I could produce now, the gameplay was just so much better. Even the franchise mode, like the NFL draft and kind of creating your own team, like it was I felt it's a lot more realistic. Just again, the gameplay, like I would always play defensive end, and that was always a fun time. I think I always got like 30 sacks in like in a season. So really, really good. That was probably my favorite game, even though I still buy Madden to this day. I think it's NFL 2K is my favorite football game by far. So with honorable mention, I forget which Madden was, but I know there was a Madden out there where you can be like a movie actor or like do commercials on top of like play football. So yeah, so those are my picks. Those are my top 3 that I have, but would love to hear on your top 3.
Yeah. I guess I was a Madden guy, and my like console like progression stopped at PS2. So like I didn't have any sort of game console past PS2. And I always remember going over to my friend's house, going to sleepovers, and I think at the time he had maybe PlayStation or possibly PlayStation 2 at that time. And that's kind of how I, you know, basically convinced my dad and saved up some money and got one of my own. But just really fun to like, create teams, simulate seasons, go past a year, 2 or 3, and just kind of keep building on a team. Like I always loved to play, in some sort of GM mode with whatever sort of sports game I ever played in. So for me, it was almost always about like roster construction or player development in a way, whether you're drafting a rookie or creating your own players and like that. I always kind of found that to be pretty fun. But yeah, just at sleepovers too, like just to, basically cheat and pick the Falcons and be Michael Vick in like 0405. Like he was basically, a running back, wide receiver in agility. And then he was like one of the best, passing quarterbacks in that game. So it's kind of like unfair if anybody ever picked the Falcons. I also remember like the Greatest Show on Turf, Rams were also like pretty dominant in like the early 2000s on that game. So if you ever, those teams, you always, got somewhat of an edge. But yeah, just a great game. Also played with my brother a lot as well. The other game on my list, it took me back, I guess, going into like my teen years when I had N64. But Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest is like seriously one of my favorite games of all time, period. I just think that you have Dave Niehaus, who is like the former, Mariners announcer. He just, he would say, anytime there's a grand slam, he'd basically say, get out the mustard and rye bread, grab all, it's grand salami time. My, oh my. And he just have like all these great sayings throughout the game. So it was just like over the top, corny or what have you, but it just kind of like brought you into the game, brought you into like, early 90s Mariners type mindset. And, when they were good in the early 90s, you have to go back and watch any Griffey clips on YouTube. You always have Dave Niehaus kind of, being more of the, part of the clip than the actual players were. So it's kind of fun for that reason. But I also just thought it was kind of like maybe the start of GM mode for any sort of baseball games too, because prior to that, I mean, I tried to think back to other games I played. I played like RBI Baseball 93, 94 on Sega Genesis. And it's just like, you played one game with 2 teams and it was over, versus like Slugfest that you could track like an entire year with one team and like make trades and like build your own team. And like, it was kind of a forward thinking, I guess, for its time, like in those years, which I would say is around like 97, 98, 99 or so. But I think there were 2 Griffey games that came out, Slugfest games that came out. And yeah, I had both of them on N64, but ton of fun to play on my own or with friends or family and stuff like that too. And then the last game on my list is like an arcade classic. If you never played, if you're too young to have played NBA Jam, I just like seriously feel so sorry for you because on Super NES and Sega Genesis, like that game was awesome. I mean, I had both of those systems, but that game was even fun in high school. So like even when Grand Theft Auto 3 was really big and people were all over Madden and all this other stuff, like I still had my old console like up in my bedroom. So like I would just like have people hang out who would just play, NBA Jam upstairs or something. It was pretty fun. But I was always the Portland Trailblazers, like early 90s, but they had Drexler, Terry Porter, and Uncle Cliff. And like before 3-and-D was really a thing, like these 3 players were like the best trio I thought in the game whenever I played, friends and stuff, because I could always switch them at the 3-point line and it didn't really matter. I'd always get 3s out of all 3 of them. And Uncle Cliff for a little height. And then if I was down big, I'd just go to the Porter Drexler combo. And it was always great. But that game's even fun today. Like if you ever go to Chicago to like headquarters, or if you find some sort of like arcade bar or barcade, whatever they want to call it these days, you'll always have NBA Jam there. And like seriously, pay the full fare for that $10 beer. It's like if you could just play NBA Jam and some of these other games, and then like you're good. But I did have one other special mention, and it is kind of 2 games, but they're the exact same concept. But I'm going to give a shout out to NHL Hits and NFL Blitz. And like, again, if you're at Barcade, you got $10 to spend on a porter, Go ahead and do it, because that game is just like pure fun. Like it has no GM mode. It is just you and an opponent, like probably a good friend, just setting up two teams and just playing that for like an hour. And NHL Hits is kind of funny because I lived in Lakeview one of my last years at DePaul, and my roommate at the time actually brought his PS2 games, because we had a PS2 we were all sharing. But he brought NHL Hits, and I'd never played NHL Hits, so I had no idea what it was, but I knew Blitz. So we just, that was kind of our thing. Like we didn't do a whole lot else together, but we did play NHL Hits almost like once or twice a week at night in between studies. But there's actually like a fight mode in Hits where, you're already killing each other on the ice during gameplay, but then like you can just drop your rackets and play like Street Fighter, and you just like two guys beating the crap out of each other. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like two games in one. But anyways, that's my list. Wayne, what do you think?
No, those are great. Those are great. Yeah. And NHL, yeah, the hits and everything. That was always a fun one. I do remember. Man, there's so many crazy games out there. Now you just got me thinking of like all the messed up, like controversial ones. I know. I mean, there was like NFL, and you mentioned like NFL Blitz, right? What was that one? There was like another video game, like football video game where you can like send hookers over to like the other teams, to the other team, and then that would like decrease. Like there's some crazy. I was trying to find out what it was, but you were talking about these
What
things.
is this game?
But no, like it's like a game like that. You like inject steroids into yourself like before the game, and then you get like a boost. It was a terrible game. Like it sounds terrible, but it was a pretty terrible game. But you got me thinking about all that. Yeah. So, but no, I think with regards, my mind's going all over the place now with all these games. But I do remember you were talking about kind of like how those early games were like starting franchise modes and all that, and it's like I feel like now because of that, because of NFL Madden, NFL, NBA 2K and all, and like GM modes, I feel like everybody feels like it's easy to win in these professional leagues, easy to trade a player, or like like figure out all these things. Like, oh well, why don't we just trade for Damian Lillard? Like it's not that hard, right? It's definitely made. I feel like the fans are very much like, I can do this job, and then they complain about what the product is out there. So but I think the games are great. I think it's gotten everybody involved overall, like got them more engaged, introduced a lot of players and people to audiences that probably would not have interacted with all of them, and then also understand like all the nuances for all the games. I remember I played with my younger sister NFL NCAA, no, was it NCAA football, I think like 2006 or something like that. And yeah, actually she got to understand all the football rules because of that. Like knew who Tim Tebow was, like all that. And I think her husband thanks me every day because of that. So I think the cool part she was actually able to do was like create her own school, or create her own college, and then like modify the colors. And of course the colors were very, very vibrant compared to like maybe some other football teams out there. So it was a nice bonding time for me and my sister. It was also a great way for me to teach her without like having to be like, oh no, you gotta do this and do that too. So but yeah, I love your selection. NBA Jam's a classic. I think my team was the Phoenix Suns. Barkley was always my Dan Marley, and KJ. Like those are my people over there. So
Yeah, that's a good trio. I mean, yeah, I played that game religiously, and there were a lot of other good teams as well. Kind of funny that I think Jordan had the rights to his name back in the day or something like that, but like Jordan's not a part of it, and it's like frustrating because he also wasn't part of like at the NBA Live set, back in like the Genesis days or whatever. So it's kind of like you always had to play with like 99 like roster was like the name of the Jordan character or whatever. So it's like frustrating, but yeah, he's not an NBA Jam, but game's still great without him.
yeah, no, it's I think it's because he can't own the game. I think that was his whole thing. Like if he was like, oh, I can own the game, yeah, let's do that. That's totally fine, then great. But I don't think he ever wanted to like create his own game or own the game. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So,
I mean, I don't know if you watched the last couple of games of this finals, but looks like the Warriors have gone NBA Jam somewhat on the Celtics lately, and starting to rain some trays and starting to pull away a little bit in these games and in the series overall. But we're recording on Wednesday night, so by tomorrow, Thursday, Game 6 will happen. But I guess as we're through Game 5, what are some of your takeaways so far from the NBA Finals, and what are you kind of predicting over the next game or possibly two?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Celtics know what the issue is, and it's not necessarily insurmountable. That being said, um, you know, I think I initially picked the Warriors, and I think I said 6. So in a way, this is like I had to just own up to what I predicted or whatever. So I think that the Warriors will still prevail in 6. Um, I think the biggest issue with the Celtics is that is turnovers right now, and then I think I saw some bunch of like diagrams coming all around, talking about how Tatum and Brown can't go left, or that their percentages have just gone down in terms of shooting and scoring, uh, with the Warriors essentially just forcing them left. So if that's the case, then it's like, well, how are they going to counteract that? And I think in the fourth quarter, oftentimes they both Tatum and Brown have just been playing hero ball and not passing, not passing the ball around and creating those rotations or making the Warriors rotate. That being said, the Warriors have been playing really great defense there and just have been stopping them. So that, and hey, you also got to give credit to the Warriors, like with Klay Thompson, he's stepped it up. Had a really great game defensively too. And then there's also Wiggins, who just showed up. He's like, a lot of people are like, he's probably the MVP. Like, that being said, I think you still got to give it a Steph overall, but just the overall impact that Steph has had. But you got to admit, Wiggins is probably, like, without Wiggins, like guarding Tatum, slowing him down, and kind of being that perimeter defensive player, being a stable scorer. Didn't really shoot that well from the 3-point line last game, but was there in the putbacks, was there on driving the ball, showed the mid-range game too, and was able to score against Tatum. So it's like, there were so many different things that they've been trying to do with the Celtics have been trying to do to stop Curry now. So much so that it seems like it's just 4-4 now. And in this case, with Wiggins out there, he's just been taking the ball whenever they do that. So I do think that the one cool thing that the Warriors have been doing is that they've been doing kind of a switcheroo up on the top of the key with both Curry and Klay Thompson, so that Curry will get all the attention basically on the top of the key, and then everybody goes over him, but then they forget about Klay Thompson going the opposite way. And then he's been kind of like wide open. I think that happened a couple times this previous game. So I really like that play. But yeah, turnovers have been bad for the Celtics. They really need to get over that. I think I read a statistic that Tatum has the most turnovers in any NBA Finals ever. So it's like something needs to change there, obviously. And then they just need to stop playing hero ball. The Celtics have the role players have showed up, so it's like you got to win as a team in this sense, because they're really trying to take out Brown and Tatum, getting them to pass the ball. So if that's the case, then you got to play that team basketball. So, but what's your take? What are your thoughts? And then who do you think? You think the Warriors are still going to pull it off? Because I know you wanted them to, or you were kind of predicting them to, right?
Yeah, I had the same prediction as you as far as the finals went. Even at the outset, we were both doing our initial takes from the first round. I think we both had the Warriors winning it all in 6, regardless of opponent. And I think we also put a stamp on it for this finals once we knew the Celtics were, the team they'd play. But I mean, like you said, I guess starting with Boston with the turnovers, it seems like, I think they have like the most in the NBA playoffs or something of the sort, just in pure totals or something. So it seems like kind of funny because they're such a disciplined team. They play such, good team defense, obviously. Looks like they move the ball really well. They're very well coordinated together. But it's just funny that like the turnovers seem to like stand out. So because they haven't stood out to me until this last game. But like you're saying, I mean, to me, this is more about the Warriors than it is about like the Celtics shortcomings to me, because Warriors are just kind of kicking into high gear. I mean, that game 4, which is such a momentum killer for the Celtics, and was just like everything the Warriors needed. They needed obviously to win that game, to not fall to 3 and go down 3-1 and not kind of have their backs against their wall going home. But like Curry just put that team on his back and showed out in game 4, and he put up the 43 spot, and it was more than 43 points in my eyes. It was just, he was all the confidence. He was all of the momentum. I mean, they put all of their weight onto Steph in that game. Draymond was looking pretty poor in that first, half of games that we've, played so far in the series. So it was kind of like they're looking for some sort of answer, and Curry was all that and more. So, I know we go into game 5 and, Curry, puts up a 16 spot, didn't score any threes for like the first time in his whole life. But, it's just, I guess to me, it's like he's the straw that stirs the drink always. He's always the one who's the catalyst starting everything. If I was the Celtics, I was the best defensive team in the league in the regular season, I'd be placing so many more resources on him, which is, what they did. But it's just like, I think the world, the sports media world can get kind of quick to turn on somebody after such a star-like performance. And it's just like, it kind of gets at me at times, because I'm like, they're kind of now trying to like dog him again. Like, would an MVP of a final series like really have a game like that? And it's just like, God, like, what do you want the guy to do? I mean, like, did he not win the basketball game for him, number one? Yes, he did. In the same sense, it's like, yeah, if more resources are going to be placed on Steph, not only is he going to give up shots like he, had for Jordan Poole, for Peyton. I saw a couple of like deferral type plays from Steph, which just shows maturity. But it's just like, he's allowed to have a bad day. He's allowed to have a bad shooting game for like the first time in his career. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like people just want to nitpick him, to an, like a, endless point. And it also goes along with Tatum. They're like, basically saying, on the flip side with Tatum, they're like, he maybe just be a star, but I don't see him as being like a superstar. And it's just like, this kid's like 24, 25, and he's gotten his teams to the finals. He's an all NBA player. He's, considered for all defense. I mean, his metrics are off the charts. And it's just like, what's a superstar to these guys? So I don't know. I get kind of annoyed when I listen to the post-game talk, and maybe I should just stop doing that or whatever. But, to me, it's just like, I think the Warriors, I think they just have come to know that like they're the superior team, and they're the more mature team and the more determined team in this scenario. I mean, they have more pressure on them. They have more to lose if they, happen to lose this series. If the Celtics lose this series, I think they walk away from this season. Everybody gives them a big pat in the back, gives them way more respect than they've ever deserved. I mean, almost like a Phoenix Suns situation from last year. But it's just like nobody's, I don't know. Nobody's gonna be shocked, completely if they happen to like fall in this series. So I think like this is the building block here for Boston to be like legitimate contenders. They may be back next year. Like we may see them back in the finals next year. But I just feel like it is the Warriors' time. And I think once they cut that rotation down to 7 and just kept it to, Green, Thompson, Curry, Poole, Peyton, Looney, and Wiggins, it's like that's all you got to do. You got to keep that line short. Don't put in Bajilka and, sorry, Kuminga, sorry, Moody. Like, I think your Ryder days are ahead of you, but it's just like, I just see the chemistry flowing with those 7. Draymond's picking it up a touch like he needs to. And like you're saying with Wiggins, he's been, just filling in all the gaps, filling in all those holes. I mean, I think with defense popping out at the 3-point line to stop the shots, he's gotten a lot of offensive rebounds, a lot of like nice putbacks, but he's been filling out that box score every night. He's bringing extra dimension that can like, penetrate and drive and finish at the bucket. And it's like, they kind of need that like superior, athlete switchable type. That's just kind of Iguodala in his heyday, but it's just, he's younger, he's more spry, and like, like the future for Wiggins is pretty bright too. So I like the Warriors, but I think overall you said it pretty well when you kicked this off.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great take. I think with Curry and the overreaction. I mean, media overreacting to things. What are you talking about? Especially sports media, gotta pop up those headlines and everything. I mean, there's a reason why more of these athlete podcasts are popping up. It's just because a lot of people are just like, you guys have never. Why are we listening to people that have never played the game, and then they're just like creating drama for the sake of creating drama? It always sounds like. Yes, Tatum is a great player, a superstar. He's facing one of the toughest teams out there defensively, has Wiggins on them and everything. I remember Tyrese Halliburton, I think I was watching on JJ Redick's podcast saying like, oh yeah, Wiggins is the best player, best defensive player in this finals or something like that. And I don't know, I think it's pretty evident. He definitely has the athleticism and length. And then again, in this short series, like, yeah, a player like Wiggins, they're just going to have that determination to like, yeah, I'm going to actually do something out here. So I'm glad for Wiggins that he's showing up. He's not, the number one pick and like, the next LeBron and next Jordan and all that. So I think it's great that he's found kind of like this I don't want to say niche, but like, kind of like his role, if you will, like an ideal role for him. So and he's pretty young too. I think he's like 26, 27. So still even has some more room to kind of grow there and hit his prime. And man, this Warriors team for the next couple of years, I think maybe next 2-3 years is probably what it's going to look like for their championship run. I mean, them, Kuminga, Wiseman, to get the young bucks in there, have them kind of see the way of how Jordan Poole, how Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green are like playing together and kind of have that send off, kind of like the San Antonio Spurs with their big three, right? And then when they send it off to Kawhi, and then hopefully, Kuminga is like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go back to, I don't even know where he's actually from, but like go back to LA, kind of like what Kawhi did, right? But yeah, I think kind of creating that core and then having them teach the young ones, drafting well, and then having them teach the younger ones of like how to go about the business, how to be professional, create that winning culture. I think that's how you create a franchise, and I think that's what they're trying to do. That's what I'm hoping the Bulls are trying to do. That's why I want Patrick Williams to be there too, long term. Although every Bulls fans like trade him. I think the idea for me is athletic wings that are skilled, which Patrick Williams is when he's healthy. Although he needs to work on his assertiveness and take it up a notch. That's kind of like the whole Andrew Wiggins thing. It's a league of wings. Like if you want to be a franchise that wins championships, you need to have really, really great wings out there. And I think that's what the Andrew Wiggins of the world, even Klay Thompson, then potentially, DeMar DeRozan and Patrick Williams hopefully are. So that's why I'm definitely much more of like, we need to keep Patrick Williams as a Bulls fan. But I hope that people see how awesome and of a franchise the Warriors are going forth, and it'll be exciting to see what happens when Kuminga and Wiseman come up a little bit more and develop. So very excited about all that. And yeah, Tatum still is a superstar no matter what some of the ESPN says. So yeah, a player like Wiggins, they're just going to have that determination to like, yeah, I'm going to actually do something out here. So I'm glad for Wiggins that he's showing up. He's not the number one pick and like the next LeBron and next Jordan and all that. So I think it's great that he's found kind of like this I don't want to say niche, but like kind of like his role, if you will, like an ideal role for him. So and he's pretty young too. I think he's like 26, 27. So still even has some more room to kind of grow there and hit his prime. And man, this Warriors team for the next couple of years, I think maybe next 2-3 years is probably what it's going to look like for their championship run. I mean, them, Kuminga, Wiseman, to get the young bucks in there, have them kind of see the way of how Jordan Poole, how Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green are like playing together and kind of have that send off, kind of like the San Antonio Spurs with their big three, right? And then when they send it off to Kawhi, and then hopefully, Kuminga is like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go back to, I don't even know where he's actually from, but like go back to like kind of like what Kawhi did, right? But yeah, I think kind of creating that core and then having them teach the young ones drafting well, and then having them teach the younger ones of like how to go about the business, how to be professional, create that winning culture. I think that's how you create a franchise, and I think that's what they're trying to do. That's what I'm hoping the Bulls are trying to do. That's why I want Patrick Williams to be there too, long term. Although every Bulls fans like trade him. I think the idea for me is athletic wings that are skilled, which Patrick Williams is when he's healthy. Although he needs to work on his assertiveness and take it up a notch. That's kind of like the whole Andrew Wiggins thing. It's a league of wings. Like if you want to be a franchise that wins championships, you need to have really, really great wings out there. And I think that's what the Andrew Wiggins of the world, even Klay Thompson, then potentially, DeMar DeRozan and Patrick Williams hopefully are. So that's why I'm definitely much more of like, we need to keep Patrick Williams as a Bulls fan. But I hope that people see how awesome and of a franchise the Warriors are going forth, and it'll be exciting to see what happens when Kuminga and Wiseman come up a little bit more and develop. So very excited about all that. And yeah, Tatum still is a superstar no matter what some of the ESPN says. So yeah.
So just for the record, do you think them going back to Boston now for Game 6, do you think this is it? Or do you think Boston puts up a real fight, pulls through, and it happens to go back to Golden State to kind of, go to 7, or like, how do you think this is going to shake out?
I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but hey, that's what this talk is all for, right? But I think that the Warriors have figured out the Celtics. I don't know if the Celtics can adjust appropriately. They're pushing Tatum and Brown left. I don't know what else the Celtics can do to counteract some of that. They just have to not turn over the ball and get better ball movement, even heading to the fourth quarter. Easier said than done, right? And then just hopefully their defensive rotations slow down Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and all that too. So and let Draymond Green try to beat you with I think their goal ought to be, we ought to just make Draymond Green score 40 points on us. Like that ought to be like, if he can do that, like we'll take that. We'd rather do that, take that, than Klay Thompson going crazy or Steph Curry, right? Like just put a bunch of people on there and let Draymond Green try to score. But yeah, do you think that they're going to take Game 6, or do you think it's going Game 7?
I think they're going to get it done in 6. I think that the Warriors just have the will to win that the Celtics don't have. I mean, I'm sorry, if you have, I wanted to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was a 13-point lead, I want to say, from Boston's end in Game 4 on their home court. And I think they just let, it might have been 9 at the half or something like that, but they just let the Warriors stay around. And eventually, Curry got hot and, just started to roll. And then, bench players just started to pick it up. It seemed like they abandoned the Bajilka substitution, got back to their core 7. And it was just like a light switch turned on. And I think when, the pressure mounts and when the Celtics are on their heels, I just feel like they're still a little young in that department. I mean, they flashed the 0 finals appearances before the series even started. And I think it was, 120 plus, games of finals experience, combined with the Warriors. So it's just like that kind of shined through for me as far as, who's ready to be a champion and who's not. As far as it goes, I mean, to your point about stopping Steph or stopping Klay or, making Draymond score 40, when I watched their offense roll, it's, there were times when there was a lot of Steph ISO and it was getting kind of, slow and boring to watch. And I was like, what are they doing? Because, just like the Spurs, they're like the masters of ball movement. They're just so unselfish as a unit that it's like fun to watch them just, play hot potato with the basketball and have Draymond, steer the ship, but in the same sense, it's like, you're just waiting for Steph or Clay to pop out, or you're waiting for, Jordan Poole now to hit 3-pointers, or Gary Payton to, drive the lane or dish it off to Wiggins or something. So it's like, your head's got to be on a swivel at all points. And I feel like they play really good team basketball in that sense. But yeah, I think this one is essentially over, just as far as it goes. And I did want to touch on your point about, this idea of the Warriors kind of being like the modern day Spurs with, their big three. But, I could just see guys like Steph and Clay, slide into bench roles toward the end of their careers, like really nicely. And they're also just like, their skill sets really play well to being able to play for a lot of years toward the end of their careers. Cause, everybody needs a Del Curry. Everybody needs, somebody could spot up. I'm trying to think of a good, shooting guard, small forward type off the bench who's just good at hitting threes. Like
Ray Allen.
Yeah, sure. Like Ray Allen, everybody needs one of those or two, So it's like, Reggie Miller was great at it toward the end of his run when the, Pacers got in the malice of the palace. But it's like, I just see those two as being the leader types that any franchise would love to have. And it's like, I think they'll get their championship now. Who knows how many, runs they'll have after this. I mean, we might be in a nice little 3-year window again, but, in any sense, I think they'll be able to ride out and always be a successful franchise with those two on the court.
Yeah, for sure. And then, Steve Kerr is only 56, which for coaching aging, like that's not too old or whatever. So depending on how far he wants to go and how much he wants to be coaching and everything, he can definitely be that stable force to go along with, however long Steph Curry, Draymond, and Clay want to be there. But yeah, to your point, like shooting, that's the last thing to go, right? Like I think that's what they always say. It's like the knees, they'll slow down a little bit, but you can still do some just quick catch and shoots, right? So I think you can definitely do that, be that Del Curry and all. And I think they'll definitely translate well. And with Wiggins, Kuminga, and whoever else, Wiggins too, Jordan Poole, they definitely have enough talent to push them forward to the next I guess generation of a franchise like the Warriors again. So very much excited about them, very much excited about where they're going to be going, I think. And yeah, I definitely think them as like a more modern day Spurs, having that Steph Curry, like being the best player on their team, but being totally selfless. We see that in the NBA finals, I think a lot for this NBA finals, and that he's always willing to pass the ball and get rid of the ball whenever people are like, double teaming him, triple teaming him, etc. And then that's always where it's like, that's where Tatum needs to get a little bit better at, and being able to actually not turn over the ball too at the same time. I think that's where the distinguishment is there. And I think right now, Steve Kerr is just out coaching Udoka right now with regards to that, and that's kind of been what's been at play right now. And but hey, we'll see what if the Celtics do make an adjustment going into Game 6 and then possibly a Game 7 if that is possible. I just think that with the experience, with the talent, with the momentum going, I think the Warriors close it out in Game 6. So
yeah, and they don't want to go to 7 on their home court again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way they're taking them for granted. Like they're not going to want to do that to themselves again. I think that would create undue pressure.
Yeah, what's up with Warriors in Game 7s, right? And after like blowing a lead, like I think they might get triggered a little bit there and be like, yeah, we're dead again. So I don't know what it is, but Game 7s for Warriors, yeah, I feel like they're like, no, this is our Game 7. I think they got to be approaching it like that going into Game 6 right now. So
for sure,
yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see where the Warriors go over the next, after this one, a couple years or so, but maybe in a couple of years we have a couple extra basketball teams in the league as well. I don't know about you, but I've seen some rumors now about NBA potentially adding franchises in Seattle and in Las Vegas. it seemed like off the bat, Adam Silver was kind of quick to knock that down. But the rumors are still out there; they're floating. What do you make of all this? Did you hear any news? And what do you think that would mean for the game to have franchises in both of those cities?
It'll mean a lot of money. It still boggles my mind how Seattle, I lived there for 6 years and everything, but it's like, it still boggles my mind how somebody thought like, oh, Oklahoma City's a better place to put an NBA franchise than Seattle. Seattle has how many like Fortune 500 companies? How much tech money in there? It's got Microsoft, it's got Costco, it's got Starbucks, it's got Amazon. What does Oklahoma City have? Like, what you got compared to those companies, right? So I don't get how that. I mean, I do get it, how that all transpired. I know there's people in Seattle that hate Howard Schultz, because he used to be the owner of the Seattle Supersonics, and then kind of, sold it to an entrepreneur. I don't even know who the owner is for the Oklahoma City Thunder because I don't care. But that person basically was like, yeah, I'm not going to. I think the idea was that Schultz thought that this guy was not going to take the team and run to Oklahoma City, even though he was like living in Oklahoma City. But he ended up actually going to Oklahoma City, despite, I think, whatever handshake that was promised there. And since then, Howard Schultz has been trying to like vindicate himself because of all this. But I think it'll be great for Seattle. Seattle is such a great sports city. It's such a great basketball city too. There's a lot of NBA talent that has come from there because of the Supersonics, because of the Gary Paytons and Sean Kemps of the world. So, and Detlef Schrempfs. So I think that it'll be great for basketball for the monetary side, and then being just a great sports city. I think Seattle definitely deserves it. People also forget that Vancouver's up north there. I know there's Portland down south, but Vancouver is such a state-of-the-art city. Like, it's my favorite city in all of North America. Like, great economy, great, just state-of-the-art city. It's my favorite city to go to in like city in North America, I would say. So great food scene. Everything is pretty much state-of-the-art there. So I think it's great that they are able to get if Seattle's able to get an NBA franchise there. Now Las Vegas, hey, with sports gambling becoming more prominently like legalized, I think that's obviously with the whole NFL franchise coming there, NHL franchise coming there, it obviously makes sense to why not have an NBA franchise there. I think it'll be great for the NBA, obviously. And I think, if they can segue into sports gambling a little bit more, why not? Especially as the other franchise or all the other leagues are doing so as well. So I think it'll be great there. And I think there's a lot of growth opportunities from there too, and being a destination place. So, because I've traveled to Vegas for an NFL game, it's pretty fun. I think I went last year for a Bears game, and I'm like, oh, who's the halftime show? It ended up being Ludacris, which I'm like, this isn't a Chicago Bears type of halftime show. They probably have like, the Bucket Boys or something like that. No shame to the Bucket Boys, but they're not Ludacris, So I think it's a whole nother level. It's gonna take it to the next level, just being in Las Vegas in a city like that. So, but what are your thoughts? How do you see things playing out?
So it looks like, at least from what I saw, that while Adam Silver kind of spurned this idea off the bat, it seems like the NBA's collective bargaining agreement expires in 23-24. So maybe that's when it gets revisited. Seems like there's a lot of momentum around it. I mean, LeBron's kind of voiced himself and being like super interested in buying the Vegas team, setting up shop there. I think he mentioned it on the Barbershop or the Shop, whatever his HBO series is called, or what have you. But I could see LeBron heading up a franchise like that. I mean, it looks like tons of NBA players are starting to put their stakes into different teams. I mean, whether it even is the same sport or it goes across different sports now for all types of athletes, I should say. But Dwayne Wade with Utah Jazz, and I could just see his interest being fully into basketball, and it's been his entire life. And he's a successful businessman too. I mean, he's done Blaze Pizza. He's producing movies now. He's always been with Nike. It just kind of feels like he's going to know his way around the business world, as well as understanding players and scouting and development. I mean, he's a good team leader on the court. So I would love to see his vision there. I mean, hopefully he does tick better than Jordan did off the bat, and being either a GM or high-powered exec or something like that. But I think LeBron would be great for an NBA organization and culture in that sense. But yeah, I mean, as far as both teams, getting established in both of those cities, I mean, it feels like sticking with Las Vegas when they brought on the Golden Knights for the NHL. First year they make it to the finals. I mean, like, what's the chances of that ever happening? I mean, they ended up losing, but in the same sense, it was like, the shock around the world, and just instantly, built a culture around that, that team. And it felt like that was, one of the, impetuses for, the Raiders being comfortable moving there and starting a franchise there. And, now they're growing. They brought in, a bunch of extra talent. It looks like, Devontae Adams will be with, Carr this year for the Raiders. So like, that's a huge draw for, people that were, Raiders fans in the past, or even if you're, a brand new Raiders fan in Las Vegas. So I'm sure for basketball, they could do, the same thing. To the Sonics, yeah, Clay Bennett was the owner that moved him to Oklahoma City. It's like his hometown and where he set up shop and businesses and stuff. So extremely unpopular move. I mean, fortunate enough for Oklahoma City. I mean, that's been a great franchise, run by Sam Presti, and I've had some home run hits on NBA draft night with Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka. You go down the line, just been like some really great decisions they've made over the years, especially with all their draft capital now. But pointing to Seattle, it always seemed like a destination, for the NBA when the Sonics were actually there. When they left, it was a huge blow to that community of Sonics fans. But also, I think Seattle's kind of proven that, looking at the Seahawks, for example, when they were on their, Super Bowl run, it was just, that was, the 12th member of the team. It was the fans. It's like, and you could, tell that it was, just, I think noise level wise, they're like first in, pro sports or something for like the decibel levels they can get to in that, stadium. I think it was once Quest Field. I don't know if that's the same sponsorship still, but I've even heard like the Seattle Sounders football club. That's another, huge culture that was built up in Seattle that's just like propelled the MLS. So now, Major League Soccer is just like on fire in the United States, and it's due in part to teams like the Sounders that, could build such, great fan bases. So, maybe that Sonics move to OKC is like a blessing in disguise, but still, they deserve a franchise. They deserve a team being there, and would totally be cool with them just bringing back the Sonics 2.0. That'd be so cool. It'd be like the kind of like the Cleveland Browns, in the 90s or what have you. Just a fan base that's always been, by the side of the team, and they bring back like the iconic logo and colors and things like that. So that would be cool too. I think the last point that Silver brought up, I think somewhat worth debating, even if we just touch on it, but just going to 31, 32 teams, Silver talked about it, maybe diluting the talent pool. I think arguments could be made on either side. I mean, I think there's, considerable amount of depth in the G League. Overseas talent is continuing to grow. Maybe this is a runway for older players to stick around in the league for a couple more years, or maybe get some of these younger guys on the court faster. So in a lot of ways, maybe it's all relative, but what do you make of all the, points I said, or like just this idea that Silver raises?
Yeah. I'll touch that point, and then I'll go back to LeBron and all that, because there's a lot of money there, and yeah, it's kind of like ESPN. Let's talk about LeBron all the time. Anyway, yeah. So with regards to diluting, I think there's too much money to be made for it not to occur. So I think they're like, yeah, let's get the money there, and then let's figure out a way to make sure that the talent level and the star players are still around, going to these franchises. I think they'll be fine long term. So yeah, again, there's too much money to be made there for that not to happen. Adam Silver knows that. So I think that with regards to maybe helping some of those stuff out, yeah, like there's only becoming more NBA talent and grooming happening. You know, whether it's players going overseas or this whole G League thing, kind of these programs coming up to, you know, where players are just skipping college and all that. It's like, why would I play with a bunch of 18-year-olds and to 22-year-olds when I can play with grown men and operate in facilities, and, you know, especially with these whole like things with regards to these players just being able to monetize their own, you know, properties now. It's like, why would I, you know, be under the restrictions of the NCAA and all that? It's like, I can do other things. I think there'll be much more people skipping, probably skipping college altogether. That being said, you know, maybe the college game does suffer. It kind of has been suffering a little bit. You know, you didn't see LaMelo Ball, you know, play for like Kentucky or whatever, so, or UCLA. And if they do play for the NCAA, usually it's for a year, right? So I think, you know, if the NCAA, if I know they're kind of leaning into this whole like, yeah, let's just grab him and then let's do this whole NIL thing and all that, right? So I sure go for that. But we're not kidding ourselves. You know, if I am a LaMelo Ball, somebody with like some recognition and the obvious talent to do things, I'm gonna want to play in the NBA, get to this whole G League, play with professionals, or play overseas. You know, get people in Australia or in Europe or in Spain, right? To get that brand notoriety going, right? So I think that's one way to go about it. And then like, yeah, you know, you can still post on Instagram for people in Kentucky or Kansas and all to see me too. And I don't have to play for the University of Kansas to do all that. So I think it's better for the sport, great for the sport, great for the players, you know, for expansion, and obviously good business for the NBA in general. With regards to LeBron, he is a businessman. There is a reason why he went to the Lakers. I mean, for show, you know, definitely for the show, for the brand and all that. But he wanted to start his own production company, right? Which he has, and kind of created it with this whole Hustle movie and all that too. But you know, Las Vegas has no, or Nevada has no state income tax, so I think he does own a property over there. And I feel like, you know, this whole migration of people just moving around anywhere has taught us anything, is that if I'm a successful business person in California, like, why would I want to go there? You know, I can obviously get my own helicopter or private jet in Vegas, and then, you know, go to meetings in LA if I need to. But, you know, my residency and all that will be in Vegas or Nevada, at least, so that I don't have to pay state income tax. So I think that's what I'll probably be doing. Since he is a savvy businessman, have his residency there. I think he does have property there. Although apparently it says his Vegas house is a purchase he most regrets, apparently. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but yeah, you know, if he lives there and is not too far from LA, and it's like, why not you know, set up shop there and then set a franchise there? And I think that's a cool way to go, and that'll be a great impact, and people will be traveling to Vegas to, you know, see him and, you know, experience the Vegas nightlife and all it has to offer. So I think it'll be great. Makes sense if I'm LeBron James. So yeah, so my thoughts.
Got it. Yeah. This is for sure. I feel like this is you know, yeah, it's forthcoming. All this stuff is going to happen at some point in some time. I feel like 2024 might be the good target date based on, you know, the CBA, you know, expiring. So we'll see. I mean, baseball went through a lot of great changes. I thought, you know, leading into this season when they came to, you know, their deal between players and owners, like, I think this is another great opportunity then for, you know, both sides to just open their eyes and see, like, you know, clearly Seattle needs their team back. It's been
Crazy.
it's been 6 years or more. I mean, I just think I definitely think they need, you know, just to get their franchise back. And in Vegas, it's proving to be a great destination, whether sports gambling is, you know, detrimental to society. Maybe, you know, I don't know if it's, you know, possible to, you know, affecting sports and how the game is actually played or what the outcomes actually are. I don't know if, you know, over the years we might see some shady business happening. I mean, it's definitely possible, but you know, as far as it being a great destination, just set up a franchise, get fans in the stands, and build cultures. Like they're proving they can do that. So, keep it rolling until something comes off the tracks, I guess. But yeah, no, I don't have much else to add there. Were there any other topics that we were floating around?
Well, yeah, I know we were talking about a little bit. I saw the movie Hustle. We were talking about a little bit of LeBron James and his production company. They produced Hustle on Netflix with Adam Sandler and Juancho Gomez. I botched his name there, but no, yeah, like saw like that movie this past week on there, and it was pretty amazing. So props to Maverick Carter and LeBron James for producing like such a great movie. Adam Sandler, great, kind of like great in terms of like in a kind of a dramatic role, if you will, with Queen Latifah as his wife too. So it's a very much like, oh yeah, like all these people are in this movie, and it's like, oh, that's because LeBron produced it, Maverick Carter, like these guys are the top of the food chain, with regards to the NBA, and then also obviously now Hollywood. So I think it was a pretty awesome movie. It had a lot of the Philadelphia 76ers on there, since Adam Sandler is kind of like a scout / coach for the 76ers, and he's out there to try to find like this the next great talent, and then sees Juancho Gomez is like him in Spain is like, oh, you need to bring him over to America. So he's this great potential talent and everything that just hasn't been found yet. So no, it's definitely cliche and cheesy and all that, but it got me thinking about like, hey, it's stuck to the formula of what a good sports movie is. Kind of like the underdog working hard to overcome adversity and then having some form of success, right? So but yeah, it got me thinking of like, what are some of the top sports movies out there? So with all that, I'm like, I'd be interested to hear like, what are some of your favorite sports movies out there?
Yeah, so before I dive into that, I actually watched Hustle too.
Okay.
I had a slightly different take about the movie itself, but I will say that when I go back and I think about my favorite sports movies of all time, I watched majority of those movies when I was in my teen years or before, so maybe youth years as well. What I would say is I think Hustle, if I was like in middle school, in high school, or even earlier, I probably would have a different take than I do today, but it's only because I feel like I was just trying to draw connections with like some of the characters and maybe like how they tried to portray this movie. I mean, I feel like it is rated R if I'm right on that. I want to say it was rated. Correct me if I'm wrong. If it's not rated R, then I'll change my tune a little bit.
I think there's some swearings. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like I wanted a little bit more story development. I wanted like I didn't feel it as much. I wasn't as captivated to the Juancho Hernangomez character. I think his name was Bo Cruz, which is just like the most ridiculous name for a kid from Spain. Like I don't know anybody from Spanish culture that's named Bo. I mean, again, if your name is Bo and you are from Spain, please comment and message on our board because I'd love to know that. But I mean, that kind of got me like laughing off the bat. But
well, I was gonna say, interrupt you there with regards to Anthony Edward. His character's player was Kermit Willis. So like,
yeah, so we had Bo versus Kermit in the big showdown, and the showdown ends, with Bo Cruz like slapping the floor on Kermit's head. Like Kermit wouldn't get up and start throwing hands, like please. But I guess it's just like I don't want to spoil the whole movie or anything like that. If people are about to watch it or something like that. But I guess like, we go to like the Adam Sandler character and, his conflict with the Philadelphia 76ers owner's son, who's like the heir to the throne. It's just like, I wanted a little bit more, like I wanted a little bit more context as like why there's some beef there. It felt like very surface level. And it was just like so cutthroat and like cruel that I was like, this is very cruel to like your best scout, number one. And then I was thinking, like, why is Adam Sandler like? Queen Latifah and Adam Sandler never kissed in the entire movie. There was one scene where she kisses him lightly on the cheek or the forehead or something, and I was just like there's no love in that relationship. There was no backstory as to like why they're together. There's just like I just felt like there's some holes in the story. That's all I'll say, at least from my perspective. But do you want NBA like type action? Like it's got it. Do you want to know what it feels like to be at the combine? For sure has that. A scout's life maybe on the road and understanding like the international context of scouting, like knocked it out of the park. I thought that there were like some really good elements of this movie and like the in-game basketball action that make the movie fun to watch. And you're rooting for Adam Sandler as the scout, and you're rooting for Bo Cruz as the player. I guess there's just like there is another movie I could compare it to somewhat, and it just I felt like the movie I'm going to compare it to just does a little bit more for me. But do you have any reaction to that? Did I just like go overboard and like not give it an accurate take, or did you want to rebut with anything?
No, yeah. I think for me, it's like my expectations for sports movies and Hollywood. It is funny you mentioned the whole Queen Latifah too, not kissing, Adam Sandler. It definitely is like that whole idea of like, I feel like two actors have been in the game for that long, right? It's like, are they gonna do it? Because I was like, are they gonna do it? I think they were just rubbing feet. I think there was that one scene where he's just rubbing her feet. Like, I think that was it in terms of like affection, that little kiss in the cheek. So it's like, okay, they're not gonna. You see that too with like young Hollywood too. It's like, yeah, they might not be as it's like she's barely 18 or whatever, like crazy stuff like that, right? It's like we're not gonna push that far. So I'm used to kind of seeing that as a movie lover. But I will say I do like your take with regards to at least the NBA or the basketball scenes, because I think Twitter went crazy, and I was noticing this. Twitter went crazy with this with Anthony Edwards and kind of like his antagonists, and he was like, "This guy's not even acting. Like this is how he is normally." But it was pretty funny though, is that Juancho Hernangomez, like he was actually his teammate in the Timberwolves for about a season, so they're familiar with each other. But I think everybody appreciated the trash talking scenes that Edwards did. I know I did for sure. But yeah, sports movies are going to be cliche. The writing can be dry. It follows a formula. There's definitely a lot of holes and kind of like, I don't know, what's the term? But yeah, like movie holes in there for sure with regards to like the story and how it flowed. The writing might have been a little bit, not precise with regards to actually, it's definitely not an Oscar-winning movie or Oscar-winning screenplay, at least I would say. But it does the job for me with regards to, this is a sports movie. This is what you expect. Glad that they brought a bunch of people to do cameos on there. They got my boy Matisse Thybulle there too, so happy to see him there and all too. But yeah, for me it was an overall good sports movie. With all that being said, but I do love Bo Cruz and Kermit Witz. Those are the craziest names for those are like antagonists for like my player, my career in NBA 2K. I feel like I think that was like the overall take on it. I was like, this is basically just a nice version of an NBA 2K my career storyline. Like it kind of was. So yeah.
And like, what was the deal with Adam Sandler's hand? Like the whole movie, like he's like casted up. He's like, and my hand's like Swiss cheese or something. Like, and then he tells the story. It just like
it didn't land correctly. Yeah, that one didn't land.
Yeah, so like with that, like why not show like a flashback? Like just have like a dramatic flashback, because this movie is rated R. I just looked at it as rated R. I was like, I don't know, man. It was kind of like towing between PG and rated R. I was just like, pick a side.
Editing. There might have been some editing. It was like about 2 hours, right? Which I know like that's it, but yeah.
I just felt like it was like I think they were trying to bite off too much they can chew from a storytelling perspective, but I think that they landed on the basketball, like the feeling of true NBA basketball. I feel like was portrayed very well in this movie. Like you felt like you were actually in an NBA locker room or, boardroom or, on the court itself. Like it was well done from that perspective. And trust me, I've gone back and watched some sports movies that I absolutely loved as a kid, and some just don't come off the same way anymore. Like I'll very shortly say Major League, is in a group of some of my favorite movies, but it is funny that like you watch Major League back again and you find out you're rooting for a protagonist that like basically cheated on his fiance and then like is basically working to like screw over the good fiance who hasn't messed up anything, who has treated her really well, is like wined and dined her and treated her like the lady she deserves to be. And then, like this whole time it's just like he also like screwed around with multiple women while being with this woman and never read her favorite book until like, he finally like gets her back at the end and like recites one line from Moby Dick and it's like this huge hero. And it's just like, I don't know, like I watched some of these things back and I'm like, yeah, like my brain wasn't fully developed when I was 12. Like I thought this guy was the coolest guy ever. And now it's like, I have second thoughts, but yeah, I mean, I know what you mean when you say that about sports movies. Cause it's like, it's got to just hit a couple notes for you as a sports fan. You're like, all right, that was like, it was a great sports movie,
I'm sure your wife appreciates your take on Major League there.
Yeah, but it's funny because even on my like men's league baseball team, we had like 3 guys. We were like all, I guess we all are married or whatever, and 2 of us have kids or something. But we were all like kind of like talking about just how some of this stuff really doesn't age well. Like some of the humor and some of the like the racial connotations in these movies, like all seriousness aside, like some stuff just doesn't age that well.
Yeah, for sure. What are your top movies, your top sports movies? Apparently Major League didn't age well, but you got any other ones up your sleeve there?
Yeah. So let's stick with basketball because the movie that I would say is like the hustle of its time, but is like to me way better is Above the Rim. Just love the whole like Kyle Lee Watson story where it's like he's coming up in New York, like grinding like a Stephon Marbury or like a Sebastian Telfair of his time, and is like just destined to go to a top college, and that's like all he's really playing for. It just like brings you into New York. It brings you into 90s hip hop culture. You got Tupac who is playing Birdie, and then Tupac's brother is actually Leon, who's famous for Cool Runnings and being in this movie his name's Shep, and he's like the top basketball player before Kyle Lee actually ever got there. So what's fun to watch about that movie and how the story plays out is like, Shep and Birdie are brothers, but like Shep is the good guy. And he's like, basically his best friend dies at the beginning, trying to, slap the backboard, and he like falls off this like really tall apartment complex or whatever. It just messes up Shep, and it messes up his whole like chances of becoming like a top player. And he's still like renowned in I want to say it's like based in Brooklyn, but he's like still renowned in that area as being like the top amateur player of his time. And like he ends up like whipping Kyle Lee into shape, but all the while like Birdie, his brother, is like trying to pull Kyle Lee into like a darker world, like into drugs and into gangs and this and that. And like there's just like a tipping point in the movie is when I think they all go to like Rucker Park and to play like this big like basketball tournament, but like Birdie's team is like the bad team with like all the gangsters and this and that, and like Kyle Lee's still playing high school ball and like excelling there, but like he's like kind of that conflict between the good and bad within himself. Like which road does he want to take to be like a successful person or just to be like alive? And like it kind of takes like Shep to join like another Rucker Park team and like ultimately like recruit Kyle Lee like mid game toward his team, where it's like, I don't know, like the whole movie is kind of fun because it brings me back to like, when we were in high school and like the decisions we had to make, like while we were going through either playing sports or like getting into academics or whatever you're into, is just like those decision points you had to make going through high school. And then like just the route of like take the easy money and go like, the bad boy route, or, are you going to stay committed to the grind and like try to make your way to a big college? And, I think for anybody who's ever seen that movie, I think, they might call it one of their favorite basketball movies. I do, but I thought that one's really great. And then I've got 2 baseball movies. I mean, very cliche, I guess, for me, but like The Sandlot is just an all-time classic. I mean, it's just a fun, kids movie. It brings you back to the neighborhood. It brings you back to like just playing ball with your friends and like whatever capacity that is, like whether you were, just playing hoops or throwing a football around or like getting some guys together to play baseball or going to the pool. Like it's your entire childhood, like played back out in a movie. And to be like the new kid in school and like not have any friends this summer, you kind of like that sadness feeling off the bat. Cause you're just like, you really want this kid to like fit in and like find something that's good for him. And he's like this complete disaster of a baseball player and he can't throw and things like that. So he's not really an athlete, but it's more about like building bonds and building friendships than it really is about like the game of baseball. But like, if you're really like a fan of baseball or you just like love baseball for what it is, what it represents, like there's kind of like these tearful moments for me because I'm just like, the night when they're like all playing under the fireworks and stuff like that, like is like a really like cool moment, just kind of like is everything baseball and like somewhat White Sox with the fireworks. But even at the end, it's just like one of the guys who plays in the Sandlot with Benny, the Jet Rodriguez, for everyone who's seen it, like goes to the pros, goes to the Dodgers, but like steals home. And then like the kid that, Smalls, who is always kind of like the left out kid, like becomes the announcer at the end for the Dodgers. And then like have this moment where they both like thumbs up, but it's just like the perfect ending to like, kids baseball and like making friendships and stuff when you're young. And to kind of round it off, I mean, bringing it back to Chicago, I'm not going to say rookie of the year. So, Cubs fans, don't get your hopes up, but Hardball is seriously like, I can watch that movie. I've probably seen that movie over 100 times. It's probably my favorite sports movies. That's probably why I saved it for the end, but like, it is everything Chicago, number one. Like if you've lived in any neighborhood in Chicago, like, like which parts, maybe a little bit rougher than others. You may know like kind of that wealth divide within the city and like how that might shake out. And then like, I think everybody knows a guy like Keanu Reeves. His name's Connor in the movie, but like everybody went to college or like has a friend around Chicago who's just like, whether or not they're a gambling addict, just like kind of like down on life, like not really getting the most out of themselves, like drinking way too much in Wrigleyville, this and that. And like, it's just kind of like the perfect, I mean, for the times that I was watching, like, around college time and after, or even late high school, I want to say, but it was like, just like, again, decisions you can make. Like this guy is like down on his luck. He's gambled way too much money. It was like bookies way too much money. So he has to like find ways to earn income. So he goes to like the South Side and he gets hooked up with one of his like corporate friends who like doesn't want to coach this baseball team. Baseball team is like a bunch of like inner city middle school kids that are just like, behavior issues, home issues, like life issues. And like, now you've got this weird guy who's like blown his entire load gambling, is now going to be like their coach and leader and stuff. And it's just like the kids actually end up teaching him more than he teaches them. But it's just like a good like recovery story for somebody who's like down on their luck. And in the same sense, it was like good for the kids who maybe don't have like role models in their lives who can like help provide some sort of structure, help provide like a male relationship where it's like, I don't know, just the perfect, again, like culmination of, two different worlds coming together and a lot of funny moments and some sad moments too, if you haven't seen it. But I would check it out because I don't think Hardball, like, I mean, it's not going to win an Oscar, but like, I think, most people probably overlook it, probably haven't seen it either. So like, I just put it on like the watch list as like, I think a good baseball movie and a good story overall.
Yeah, no, I like Hardball for sure. I mean, there's the Chicago connection too, but it's like, how do you not like Keanu Reeves? He is the man basically, and I think there's also like a sighting of a Michael B. Jordan there too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a fun movie. I think it also has got the beautiful Diane Lane, so hard not to like that movie overall. Kind of a Bad News Bears. I like that we were talking about like you can be like the shittiest person on earth, right? But if you can help out, the future generations on earth, right? It's like there's something to that. And I think that's what that Bad News Bears, Hardball, that kind of whole idea is about, with regards to, you can still do good things in this world, no matter what's happened in your past or how downtrodden you feel, right? So I think I got a lot of respect for that. Love the Tupac reference for sure. And I mean, man, yeah, there's, I think with regards to like, the Mecca, I think everybody describes New York as the Mecca for basketball. So any type of like basketball movie, with Rucker Park, I think is a great one. So I think there's, a lot of street to kind of what you were talking about there. Such an underrated movie, I think too. With regards to that. And yeah, I don't know, and Sandlot is such a classic. Everybody talks about was it Babe Ruth? I can't, everybody always recites it. I feel like in grade school it's like Babe Ruth, like Baby Ruth, like that whole thing, that was like such a classic, I feel like. And yeah, it kind of goes back to just you and your friends, right? Just playing the game. I think that's what it fundamentally comes down to, and like all the fun craziness it is, like growing up and kind of the coming of age story, right? So I think that's a classic overall there. So that's definitely one of my favorites. Man, you have such great baseball ones. I think it's great that you took some of them. I was what was that baseball movie that I was thinking of that was like, oh, I'm surprised Pat wasn't thinking. Oh, was it 8 Men Out with the John Cusack and the White Sox? I think it was the Black Sox. It was like with regards to the Black Sox. I know that was one of them there. Did you ever watch that one, or if you haven't, that's okay.
Yeah, and I'm a failure, dude. I'm a failure at life for so many reasons. The Cusacks are like from Chicago, like Black Sox. I should have already watched this. It's a baseball movie. Like, I should just leave right now.
No, it's totally fine. Hey, nobody's perfect. We all
that's
pretty
terrible. Yeah.
No, it's cool. Yeah, I do remember watching that. I was like, oh, this is such a cool movie. And like, the Field of Dreams too. I know that was another baseball thing. I think those are like some classic baseball movies. And it is pretty cool that they have that now, right, in real life. They're playing those games in Iowa, right? Like, how cool.
Dude, they're gonna let the Cubs. They're gonna let the Cubs play.
Just be White Sox. Play a series there.
Yeah, like I'm cool. Yeah, I'm cool with the White Sox playing the Cubs there, but I was like, okay, so now you're gonna take away the Sox thing, and you're just gonna hand it over to the hotter ticket in town.
Yeah.
Why? That's. I mean, I guess Iowa has like the Iowa Cubs, so like I get why Iowa wants to see the Cubs there, but like you're saying, like that's the White Sox yard. Like you can't
principle. It's about the principle.
Yeah. And like just shout out to the White Sox for that game because it's like the most epic baseball game ever played.
Yeah, hands down. Like people actually watch that. Like they're like they went out of their day to actually watch it. Like, yes, baseball. You got to be like embracing like your like this is the roots. Get down to it, So.
Like here's the thing though, like just from a creativity standpoint, I know we're going on a tangent because we're talking about movies, but like the Cubs were in, they had the Rookie of the Year game, movie or whatever. Yeah. Just play the Pirates or like the Mets, I think was their big playoff game in that movie. Just host the Mets and call it like Rookie of the Year night and have like
get a 12-year-old out there. Yeah,
have American Pie kid, Kevin, and have a Marv from Home Alone, like dress up as the pitching coach. Like I just say, like stay in your lane, stay in your damn lane.
Yeah, I do like. I forgot what was it. Might have been like an NBA All-Star game thing or something. I remember Ray Allen played Jesus Shuttlesworth, right? Or he had it on his back and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool, right? Like, but yeah, played it like if the movie has it, stick to the script and all that, right? I think that's all we ask for as sports fans here. Like, keep it within the family there. Not the Cubs at all teams. I get the whole I get the whole Iowa thing. I get it, but. Still,
the White Sox will never get to play at that stadium because then like the Cubs will be like annually now hosting that because they'll get good ratings there and it'll be like, oh yeah, we just forgot what the whole movie was about. We just want to have the Cubs play out in the cornfields now. So it's like,
I mean, they put it with the Yankees. Like, I feel like just have the White Sox team up with like it doesn't have to be the Yankees, but like the Cubs or another like and play a series out of it. I think that'd be cool. Just do that. I know I get the whole like you don't want like a spectacle just one night and all that, but. for me, I'm like, just make it a series, make it fun, make it cool. Just you can do different things on each day. Yeah, and get different starting pitchers out there to kind of embrace the experience too. I think it's good for the game, um, but yeah. But speaking of my Jesus Shuttlesworth, that was actually one of my movies on there. Was He Got Game.
Nice.
Yeah. Jesus Shuttlesworth, Spike Lee joint. He Got Game with Ray Allen in there. I thought it was pretty amazing. I mean, for me, it was like, okay, this is what a basketball movie kind of is with regards to like this youngster doing like going through college recruitment. It also has Rosario Dawson. Oh, like holy cow, like she's beautiful and everything. I like saw her and was like, I remember all this. Now it's like now all those hormones are coming back together for all this. So I thought it was an excellent movie. It's got Denzel and everything in there too. That soundtrack too is top notch, like no other, man. I listen to it sometimes when I'm just like shooting around and everything, and it's hard to beat that for sure. So yeah, He Got Game would be like one of my favorite movies. Definitely one of my favorite basketball movies. Shout out to us at Boot Chip as well. With regards to the football, my favorite sports football movie of all time though is Friday Night Lights. Such a good movie. Derek Luke as Booby Miles. I actually read the book before because I was like, oh, they're making a movie and this seems pretty cool and all that. And it's like he did such an excellent job, like Oscar worthy. I know, like, yeah, I'm gonna say like he ought to have got an Oscar just for that. Blew it out of the park with regards to just getting that emotions and all that with regards to like he was like this top recruit running back and everything, and then spoiler alert, like gets hurt. I think tears like his ACL and everything, and it's such a heartbreaking scene, like with him there, like finding out that he tore his ACL. And back then, it was like I think 90s, 80s or something like that. Back then, like that's the end of your career essentially. They didn't have the rehabilitation practices and medicines that they do now. So he was done. His career was done. And I think he eventually became like a truck driver or something like that. So, hey, nothing wrong with truck drivers or anything like that. It's just he was like, bound for at least NCAA football glory and potentially the NFL and all that. So, and all that was kind of taken away with the torn ACL. So it was really, really like kind of a heartbreaking, like that one scene with him and I think it was his uncle there, like was such a heartbreaking scene, but very top notch. Also, talking about Texas football, I think that's the whole thing. Texas football, New York basketball, like those things kind of equate, right? So in that sense, and really was hit the nail on the head with regards to what football means to Texas, I would say. And then the next on my list for sports movie, top for me at least, was Warrior with Tom Hardy. And this is Taylor Edgerton, I think his name is. I remember just seeing him in like a bunch of random movies. I think it was like in Great Gatsby and all that. It's like, oh yeah, that guy. He got his ass kicked by Tom Hardy a little bit, but not at the end, right? So, such a great movie. The acting is great. The MMA scenes are great. It's about like two brothers, but we find out later that they're brothers and everything. But like two brothers that kind of came from like had a tough upbringing with an alcoholic father who was Nick Nolte, and was like he was trying to like find vindication. Nick Nolte trying to find vindication in his life by helping out Tom Hardy's character to train to be an MMA fighter for like this grand prize, like Grand Prix MMA tournament. So tries to do all that, and don't want to split too much here and there, but it's like such obviously leads to a nice spectacle. MMA scenes are top notch, great. And the cinematography, the directing, superb. I remember I actually watched it free in the movie theater. I think it was like some special or some promo they're trying to do. So I was able to watch it for free. But man, that was like one of the only movies that like in my life I've actually like stood up and like clapped. Like I actually really enjoyed it that much. Like I was
That's
like,
nice.
I always laugh at people that do that, and then I'm like, why are you clapping? Is that big of a deal? Like, you know, Thanos was all right. Like he wasn't like Daniel Day-Lewis or was he?
Yeah.
Maybe he was. But yeah, like that was one of those movies at the end. It was like that, Slumdog Millionaire. I just felt good coming out of the movie theater. So but yeah, those are my favorite movies. That's my top three, I would say. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's a solid list. I'm gonna have to watch some of those because I know there's a couple on your list that I haven't seen. So I got a lot of time these next couple of weeks. I'll be sure to knock a couple of these out on the weekends or at nights or something like that. But that sounds pretty good. I was gonna say I've never given a standing O to a movie, but I have watched one. I believe 5 times in the theaters with my brother. So we went
Which
to go
one was
see
that?
No Country for Old Men. It's
Yeah?
not sports, but I don't know what it was. It was just so dark, and there's a lot of pieces to connect together. So we actually, I was in college and my brother was working at the time, but we'd get off early, but we'd go see matinees for like $5 back in the day. And I don't know, just like consistently, like we're trying to watch movies. So we'd always go to the theaters, and I think we'd like at some point, it was probably like a year stretch, we'd go to movies twice a week and just like catch 2 or something like that in the late afternoon and just like into the evening or something and call it a night. But yeah, we watched that one 5 times. It was awesome. It's still awesome. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but anyways, not sports related, but just probably my most non-applause but still like kind of obsessive movie moment, I'd say, in
Yeah,
theaters.
no, that's a great movie for sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely now these days, like for me at least, that's probably not a movie I would watch 5 times in the theater, but still I'm very respect. That's a movie I'll watch on like Netflix, like several times here and there, whatever. But it's such an interesting movie to like dissect and go over there. That whole coin and everything, what he does, it's like, is this guy Two-Face? Is he trying to be Two-Face? Did they steal that? Like, did the Coen brothers pick that from Two-Face or whatever? Because that's what I thought. And then that whole like cattle gun too. That's wild. Like, this is a thing. Like I had no idea this was a thing.
There's a lot of
But
gray area too. So like a lot of people don't. There's a lot of people that don't like the movie because they think it like doesn't have a strong ending or like a clear ending or anything like that. And I kind of like movies where it really bleeds into like a lot of gray area. You just like kind of decide what the outcomes were, and you kind of decide where the storyline goes after they take it off air. But like,
what do you think?
Yeah, just a really good thinking movie and good suspense, and it kind of put like Javier Bardem on the map, and it was fun to watch. But
what do you think happened at the end?
Man, I like a lot of people died, so like I just figured like all the main characters died and he just like got away. Like that's where my head goes with everything. But like I like part of it's like did the hero win at the end? Did he like take him out? Like possibly.
Yeah. Do you think that he killed her at the end and everything? Did he when he left? Because I think they left it kind of ambiguous, right?
Yeah, I thought they were at a motel, like a rundown motel, kind of trying to like, oh, man, it's been a while, but like, hold down fort or whatever, like with Javier Bardem coming through. And like, I feel like Javier Bardem just like took everybody out and just like continued his reign of terror. Like such a good character. So, just like so calculating and just witty and, pretty good at his craft. So, fun to watch.
I think there's this whole idea. It's like we respect a man that is really great at their craft, like Dexter and all that. Even if he kills a bunch of people, we respect him. He's really good at it. Like chopping up people and killing them and everything. He's really talented in that. It is pretty interesting. It kind of goes to the whole like this whole subculture of like women watching people like getting killed on Netflix, right? Like murder mysteries and all that. It's like why are women always watching other women getting killed in these Netflix shows? I feel like it's like, all right, that's an interesting thing there. But yeah, movies in general, I think they're a very they touch a lot of different parts, I think, in humanity for sure. So
Yeah, and shout out to true crime series and all those dark docu series. I'm like all about them. I love piecing together the clues and like trying to figure out how this thing like went down, and then it could be like a surveillance camera reveals like the tragedy or something else, or like there's always some angle to it. And I think like Netflix and some of these other providers are doing a good job at like posting this kind of content for those that are craving it or whatever. But yeah, we're in a weird era right now with how we consume and what we want to watch. But yeah, we need to get some more classic sports movies back out there, because even like in reviewing what we were just talking about, like a lot of what we're talking about is like 90s era or so, and it's like there haven't been like consistently good new sports movies, and it's frustrating for that sake. I feel like everything nowadays is like reinventing like a classic, and like instead of just creating a classic, it's just okay, what was big, what sold a lot, and like how can we run out a new rendition of it.
yeah, they need like an every given Sunday, like for basketball or baseball or something like that, just like raw, uncut. Hey, LeBron, that's your next thing. Just like going all crazy like that. I feel like that would be I feel like that's needed. If I'm a producer, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, if he's the owner of the Las Vegas and whatever's, he's going to be living any given Sunday every day.
Yeah.
So,
I'm hearing like Las Vegas, blackjacks, I think. What are some like other ones?
I think lights would be kind of cool. Like you got the nights, you'd have the lights, like just Las Vegas. It's like bright. It's something with anything with poker, anything with like as long as it's not like towing a line of like this is gambling. Like I do think like anything you could draw from poker or anything you could draw from like a deck of cards would be super cool.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, for sure. I mean, I would just, I mean, to heck with it, I would just embrace it. Let's go for it. I mean, they're talking about it like in the promos for like all these like podcasts or series, anyways, and like giving odds and the bottom lines for the tickers on ESPN. So I'm like, just embrace it. Like, just go for it. Who cares? Nobody cares anymore. We survived a pandemic, or it's kind of no, it's still kind of going all that. We've gone through a pandemic. We deserve a team that just says to hell with it. This is what we are all about. No more LA Lakers when there's really not that many lakes in LA. Like let's just go with unapologetically. This is what we're all about.
Yeah.
So
Just call them the Sin City Swindlers. Be like perfect. You're all set. Like.
Did you come up with that? Oh, that was pretty good,
dude. Yeah, I want to do something with Sin City, but like, yeah.
I
mean, you fill in the blank. You got sharks, you got bookies, you got strippers, you got drug dealers, you got all sorts of things in Las Vegas. It's like,
I mean, could you imagine the cheerleaders in the Las Vegas team?
Man, maybe just like create a facility. I don't know. It could go on tangents, but
they'll be getting like their own OnlyFans accounts, like on their backs or whatever, just like saying like, here's a QR code if you want to go to my OnlyFans account.
Yeah, if they make Space Jam 3, they're not going to invite LeBron back if he does that. But yeah, that'd be very entertaining, and I'm sure it'd be an amazing fan experience.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
But
yeah. No, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
But like solid episode in terms of coverage, and I think a lot to think about in terms of what's happening with NBA, this like final series, and just like talking about content, like where it can go, and just kind of reflecting on some of our favorite media that's revolving around sports. So more of it, better, and definitely want to cover these kinds of topics again sometime in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, for all those listening out there, let us know what are your favorite sports video games, sports movies out there. What do you think about the NBA finals? Who do you think is going to win? Do you think the Warriors are going to take it game 6, or Warriors a game 7? Or hey, maybe you're a Celtics fan and think we're all BSing here. So let us know all about that. Feel free to tweet at us some very nice messages, I'm sure, or DM us, or send us some things on Instagram there, or comment on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. So with all that, this is Wayne Pua, and there's Patrick Miller over there signing off. This is the Ball and Breakfast Club, or Ball and Breakfast podcast, I should say. I mean, the Breakfast Club is pretty cool too. Shout out to Charlemagne. So yeah,
great movie. But
yeah, great movie. And another movie. Yeah, there we go. The Evanston Chicago side too. So all right, thank you all.